and to get this going.
I'll wait for you.
Where's Tim Brandon?
Go ahead, please.
Thank you, President Matt. A number of years ago, I met a young lady from Lakeport. I was duly impressed by her then, and I continue to be impressed by her. She is our speaker today, Jennifer Strong, a two-time, if I remember correctly, past president of Rotary Club of Lakeport, currently serving on the board of directors for our district. Right?
Yeah, he just got booted off.
You just got booted off? Well, okay.
I got fired.
Jennifer's topic today, as you can see from the slide, is called Forged in Fire, My Journey into Rotary. I heard her speak over at the Rotary Club at Sebastopol, and this is the information that she passed on to Charlie, our program chair. There's a difference between being a Rotarian and understanding why you are a Rotarian. What was the moment when you found out why and realized the power that comes with that little logo and pin that we all wear? Maybe you haven't had it yet. In this program, you'll follow one longtime Rotarian's journey on the path of experiencing that moment of why, and the realization that this organization called Rotary is an incredibly powerful entity that carries with it the ability to take one small idea, born from devastation, and turn it into a snowball of inspiration. You'll hear a story about the fires that ravaged through Lake County several years ago, and how that inspiration started the Rotary Fire Relief Fund, changing not only the lives of a community, but also the lives of one not so very ordinary Rotarian. Would you all welcome Jennifer Strong.
I don't think it's on.
Got it, thank you.
No, it's not on.
So,
Hold it.
yep, so I'm not on. It's on. It says it's on. Yeah?
Can't hear it. I can't hear it.
Do I need to put it closer?
There it is.
Down?
That's good.
Right there? I'm looking at the guy in the back that looks like he knows what he's talking about. He looks like he's official. All right, you guys can hear me okay? Good? All right. So, so I'm a member of Lakeport Rotary. I joined Rotary in 1998. And I was just starting my financial planning business. I was 27 years old. And I knew that the networking that I would get through Rotary was going to be good for my business. I would imagine that there's maybe one or two of you in this room that might have joined for the same reason. I was a good Rotarian, but I didn't really understand why I was a Rotarian. I went to meetings, I participated in committees, heck, I even agreed to be president the first time after having been a Rotary for less than 3 years when our president-elect dropped out in March. How hard could it be to be president, right? Yeah, didn't know much about Rotary, but how hard could it be? So I said yes, and I did it. But even through that experience in 2001, 2002 of being president of the club the first time, I didn't really understand why. And it wasn't until I got the opportunity to be president again when our president-elect dropped out in April in 2015. And so I've been president twice, been president-elect for a total of 4.5 months. So, you know, it can be done without much practice. But it was at that moment that I realized that sometimes things happen for a reason. I wasn't supposed to be president in 2015. And it wasn't that I was supposed to do something extraordinary in 2015. It was that I was supposed to learn something about myself in 2015. So I started that year as president with all kinds of ideas about what we were going to do during that year. I was a good member of Rotary. But it wasn't until September of 2015 that I had the opportunity to learn why I was a Rotarian. Now I like Mark Twain. I love his quotes. I love the stuff that he comes up with. Now this is a big quote for any presentation. And I would never in a million years re-quote Mark Twain, at least in writing. But this quote takes on a little bit of a different meaning for me. The two most important days in your Rotary life are the day you join and the day you find out why. You see, there's a difference. There's a difference between being a member of this organization and understanding the power that can come with being affiliated with this organization. And it wasn't until I had that moment that I understood why. Now I was lucky. That moment for me was actually captured on film. And in a few minutes, I'm going to show you that picture, and I'm going to tell you the story of that moment for me when I really understood the power of being a Rotarian. But first, I'm going to tell you a story. The summer of 2015 was a big year for Lake County. On July 29th, the Rocky Fire broke out. 70,000 acres, 43 homes. A couple weeks later, the Jerusalem Fire broke out. 25,000 acres, 6 homes. A couple weeks after that, the Elk Fire. 673 acres, no homes on that one. But then the big one hit. Saturday, September 12th, 2015. A fire started up on Cobb Mountain. For any of you that have been to Lake County, it's a very rural area. There's 60,000 people in the entire county. We don't have freeways there. We have lots of 2-lane roads. The Valley Fire ripped through 76,000 acres, destroyed over 1,300 homes, businesses. Firefighters severely injured. 5 people died. It says one there is presumed dead. He's dead. He's one of my clients. He was trying to get away from the fire and his car broke down. He tried to run for it. They never found him. The only way that they could find him is to DNA test first. Yes, his family has to wait 10 years before he can be presumed, before he can be certified that he's passed. At the time that that fire broke out in 2015, it was the 3rd most damaging fire in California history, right behind Oakland and San Diego. At one point, 1/3 of our county's population, 1/3, was evacuated. Now, prior to a few months ago, I could tell you, imagine, just imagine 1/3 of your community evacuated. It's not something that you ever want to see. The devastation, as you can see from this map, was huge. This is a map of Lake County. The green is the Rocky Fire, the orange is the Jerusalem, the pink up in the corner is the Elk Fire, and the red is the Valley Fire. That summer of 2015 was a big year for fires. According to CAL FIRE, over half the acreage that burned in 2015 burned in Lake County. It was all over the national news, the international news. It's not the type of thing that you expect to see in your own backyard. It's things that you see that happen far away. People were driving through flames, the rubber melting off of their tires, trying to get away. Many actually had to abandon their vehicles on the side of the road, run for it until somebody picked them up. It's the kinds of things you see on war-torn areas in Afghanistan, not in your home. This home right here belonged to one of my clients. This was all that was left standing. Where do you even start? Where do you even begin to process this? This was an apartment complex. The only thing that was left standing was the slides. Wildlife, as you can imagine. I could show you pictures that would make your toes curl. The fire was moving so fast that people had barely had time to get out of their homes, let alone save their animals. So they would write their phone numbers on the sides of their animals, open the gates, and hope that they would survive. We actually housed these horses. We weren't able to get a hold of the people because they weren't in cell service. Eventually, they found their animals. The emotional toll is something that you can't even begin to put your finger on. Because you see, it's not just about whether you lost your home. The fire was selective. Which is worse? Having your home standing or having your home gone? Lives were pretty shabby. Now, I was in Colorado at a conference, watching this unfold on TV. My community was on fire. People were scattered. They were scared. They had nowhere to go. And after having been in Rotary for 17 years at the time, I had no idea what this one little idea was going to do to change my life. As I sat there in that hotel room in Denver, I said, I have to do something. If maybe, just maybe, we could raise $50,000, we might be able to help a few people. So from my cell phone, I put together a flyer. Put the Rotary logo on it, called it the Rotary Fire Relief Fund. and emailed it to our then district governor and said, Erin, will you please send this out? We want to see if we can raise a little bit of money. I put my cell phone number and my email address on it, which I don't recommend, by the way, for obvious reasons. The Lake Area Rotary Club Association, once we were finally able to get the 4 Rotary clubs in Lake County together, the Lake Area Rotary Club Association is our nonprofit arm. We created a committee of 3 Rotarians from each of the 4 Lake County clubs. That committee began meeting immediately because you see the money started coming in. It was coming in from all around the world. $50,000, that came in the first week. It began to dawn on me that there is a little bit of power that comes with this organization that we are associated with, and I had no idea. I had no idea. The funds came in, and that's what we saw come in for those 3 fires. Almost over $750,000, if we could just raise $50,000. You see, this money did not come in because it had Jennifer Strong's name and email address on it. It came in because it had this Rotary logo on it. And the light bulb was starting to go off above my head. That all I needed was just an idea. It came from everywhere. Lakeport Rotary became Donation Central. Every week it would come, including this letter from this little girl named Emma. And I'm going to read it to you because you can't read it from there. It makes such an impact on me that I actually took a picture of it. I said, hi, my name is Emma. I just turned 10 years old. My dad asked me what I wanted for my birthday present this year. I told him I'd like to donate my birthday money to a child that lost all of their toys in the Valley Fire. I have so many nice things, and other kids may not have anything. That makes me sad. My only wish for this money is that another kid gets to buy something fun with it. Please make my birthday wish come true. Emma lived in Reading. She had no affiliation with Rotary whatsoever, but she had heard that we were doing something for the families in Lake County. Now, what I learned from that is not only was I changing as a person because of this, but Rotary was giving this 10-year-old little girl the opportunity to realize that the world is much bigger than she is, and that even she, from 4 hours away, can make a difference in the lives of someone else. The power of Rotary. But you see, it didn't just come in from Rotary clubs around the world or local organizations or entities or little girls like Emma. I was also contacted by Reach Helicopter. The national sales manager for Reach Helicopter called me and said, we want to do a national campaign and we want all of the money that we raise to go into your Rotary Fire Relief Fund. And I asked her, why? Why us when there were so many other options? And she goes, the answer is simple. You're Rotary. We know that you're going to get it to where it needs to be. The power of Rotary. You see, this logo that we wear, that we so oftentimes take for granted, can give us these opportunities to do things in this world that we never dreamed that we could ever do just by being affiliated with this group. Now, what are some of the things that we did with that $786,000? Well, what do Rotarians do? They find the holes. The very first hole we found was the business grants, the business grant program. Small businesses, they didn't have any power for 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks. If you owned a restaurant, your inventory was shot. Well, guess what? There was no FEMA money for you. Insurance was really, really tough to get. We needed to get those businesses back up and running. They were the heart of the community, so we immediately did a business grant program. The program was so successful that Redwood Credit Union called us and said, hey, we like what you're doing. Here's another couple $100,000 to put in your business grant program. I'm going to talk about them in just one more second, in a couple minutes too. We also funded a reforestation project. We lost a lot of trees in this fire. In November, 2 months after the fire, we said, we want 100,000 trees in a greenhouse so that we can help these local people get their forests rebuilt on their property. And we also have maybe a little idea of what we might want to do with some of those trees. We funded a grief counseling program. We did school programs. You can imagine the impact that happened on the schools. School was in session when those fires shut them down. After school program, this was a big one. These families were displaced. They needed to get their kids back in school, but there was nowhere for their kids to go after school because they were sometimes 20 or 30 minutes away in a shelter, in a temporary housing situation. The waiting list for the after-school program was a mile long. There was no money to pay for additional after-school programs. The Rotary Fire Relief Fund funded it for 2 years so that every single one of those kids had a place to go after school, and we also were able to incorporate some grief counseling into that program as well. We provided coats for the kids. We helped upgrade the notification system, animal care grants. As you can imagine, the veterinarians were doing free care for all of these animals that had been damaged in the fire. We did home rebuilds, and we did many, many, many more things. And we were just getting ready to shut it down 1 year later. Good thing we didn't. Whoops, what did I press? Good thing we didn't. Because the Clayton fire broke out on Saturday, August 13th, 2016. Ravaged through downtown Lower Lake. Knocked out over 200 homes and businesses. 4,000 acres burned. Another 80 structures destroyed. First day of school was supposed to happen Monday. Was delayed. Lives impacted again. Once again, you can see where the red area is the Clayton fire. How much more can one community take? Once again, pictures and visuals that you just don't imagine seeing in your own community. This is Main Street, Lower Lake. Where do you even start? Well, you already have the structure there. Very next day, there were gas and gift cards going out to the shelters. The business grant program was fired back up. We helped those businesses get back up and open. This was the interesting part, though. I didn't create a flyer this time. Didn't even ask. Didn't even put it out there. Money started rolling in again. Another $150,000 came in after the Clayton fire. Not even asked. Actually, it was $190,000. Power of Rotary right there. All from one little idea, we could just raise $50,000. Nearly $1 million was raised. But why stop there? Because by then, it had started to become very clear that this thing called Rotary was a pretty powerful entity. We could do anything we needed to. We're going to plant 3,000 trees in 1 day, we said. Told the county, find us a place to plant them. They said, you can't do that. You can't plant 3,000 trees in 1 day. And I said, you know what? Just find me a place to plant them. This thing called Rotary, we're going to plant 3,000 trees in 1 day. So after quite a few phone calls, they found me a park in Middletown. Middletown Trailside Park. It was 111 acres that had been burned by the fire. Through the use of volunteers, they helped get 11 acres of it cleaned up. I put together a flyer, put my cell phone number and email address on it. Some doesn't learn, but I've also been president twice, so obviously I didn't learn. And put it out there. Had no idea how many people were going to show up. And it wasn't until that school bus from another Rotary district showed up with 54 junior high school Interact kids that had been fundraising for a year to pay for that bus, rolled in to the Middletown Trailside Park, I knew that the power of Rotary was alive and well. We had over 400 people show up from far and wide, Rotarians and not, old and young, community members, not community members, kids, organizations, people that wanted to be part of helping this community heal. Because you see, a year and a half after that fire broke out, this group of people came together to plant some seeds of healing and hope. It was the first event, in Lake County of this type where people could come together and try to make a difference in helping this community rebuild. Over 400 people showed up that day. And you see, we didn't just plant trees that day. We planted some seeds of hope. And not only did we plant 3,000 trees in 1 day, we didn't do that. We planted 3,500 trees in 2 hours. The power of Rotary. Pretty sure they'll never question us again. This was probably one of those moments in my life where I really understood and knew. Now, it was a year and a half after the fires, but I really knew the power of Rotary. We can plant 3,500 trees in 2 hours, and at the same time come together as a community and help rebuild. But it was all just training ground, and all things happen for a reason. Because 1 year later, as you all know, on October 8th, 2017, fires broke out in 4 counties. I woke up on Monday morning and saw that the fires were going on. And I said, we have to do something. I called up Bob and said, Let's make this happen. The Rotary Fire Relief Fund got expanded to the district, and as you know, the district has been working long and hard. There's community members, Rotary members from all of the 4 counties that have been working tirelessly on this. The information went out, the money started coming in. Another $1.8 million. $1 million of that came from Redwood Credit Union. Stroked a check for $1 million because they had been working with the Rotary Fire Relief Fund for 2 years in Lake County and said, we like the work that you do, here's $1 million. Almost $3 million has been raised and has helped the survivors of these fires over the last 3 years. If we could just raise $50,000. The important point about this, every single dime of this has gone to the survivors with 0 overhead. I challenge any of you in this room to find another organization in the world that can do that. Rotary can. 0 overhead. Every dime of it gone exactly where it needs to be. Power of Rotary. So I told you at the beginning that I was going to tell you the story of that moment that I knew that I was a Rotarian. One of the hats that I wear for Lakeport Rotary is I'm a ride director for the Contact Challenge, which is a cycling event in Lake County. It's the first Saturday of October of every year. In 2015, that was 2 weeks to the day after the start of the Valley Fire. In many parts of our community, the fire was still raging, so we had to cancel the 100-mile route. Many people thought we would cancel the whole ride, but we didn't. The community needed it. The cyclists needed to be there. We needed that event at that time. So we did the ride anyway, but why stop there? There were hundreds of kids that had lost their bicycles in that fire. Maybe, just maybe, we might be able to get a few new bikes donated for these kids. And maybe, just maybe, wouldn't it be great if we could actually have their names on it? These kids are living in shelters. They've lost everything. Maybe we could put their names on it. And wouldn't it be great to bring them to the ride, invite them to the after-ride barbecue, and have the cyclists help them find their bikes, fit their helmet, adjust their seats, invite them to come and have lunch with them, and take a little tiny bit of respite from the hell that they've been living in for the past 2 weeks. I was so tired, I could hardly stand. But it was nothing compared to what these fire survivors were going through. At one point in the middle of the afternoon, I felt a tug on my leg. I turned around, I looked down, and there was a 3-year-old little girl standing there with her pink bike in her hand, helmet on her head, and tears rolling down her face. And she looked up at me and she said, "Are you Miss Strong?" And I said, "I am." And she said, "My brothers and I are still living in the big house. And the monster took our bikes." And she said, "Can I give you a hug?" And I leaned down and I gave this little girl a hug, and her grandmother snapped that picture. And it was at that moment that this very ordinary Rotarian, who really didn't get it for 17 years, got it. I got it. Because if I had not been affiliated with Rotary, I would have not been able to make a difference in the life of that little girl through one so simple act. And it was at that moment that I knew why. And not only did it change me as a Rotarian, but it changed me as a person in so many ways that I can't even begin to count them. This quote by Clem Renouf says it all. Rotary gives ordinary men and women the opportunity to do extraordinary things they never dreamed possible. It's true. I'm living proof of it. My challenge to you is, if you've had that moment that you know why you're a Rotarian, share it. I've done this program over 40 times. And I'll continue to do it as long as I'm asked. If you've had the moment, share it. If you haven't had it, open your eyes, open your mind, open your heart. Because when you do, when you realize that all you need is one very simple idea, you can change the lives in your community, around the world, but more importantly, it changes yourself. Open yourself to it. Give it a shot. Thanks for your time.
Jennifer, thank you so much for coming.
Get me up and running. A few things. Jennifer will be available for questions afterwards, if anyone has those questions. But a gift for Jennifer. Look at this gift. What a wonderful gift. Thank you very, very much. And I have This is something that we do in this club, and it's just, we're addicted to lotteries and various fun things like that. So, if you would be so kind as to pull from that basket a ticket, and perhaps you could help me read it because my eyes are just completely...
766. And you
Yes! Oh! I don't know. Thank you very much. Well, I'm going to shuffle these cards a little bit
I was
now.
afraid to buy a ticket all year, 'cause I didn't want to be there holding the basket when somebody drew by me.
Mr. Raymond, do we have a gift for
It doesn't matter, I'm a winner.
well, we owe
I don't need no sticky.
Bill.
Was it my turn?
I think it was.
Was it?
I think it was, but we can check it out. We don't have one, we'll get one, right? We will get one, so here we go. Citizen Bill. I blurred it. One card, please.
Watch him get it.
Oh, so close.
And then you rip it up.
Yeah, then I rip it up.
And
There you
you
go.
rip it.
Get rid of it.
Thank
So we owe Bill something. We definitely owe
No,
him.
I owe it to him.
A cadeau, a gift. Joke of the day, Mr. Randall. Do we have a joke of the day?
Can I,
Yeah, do it, please.
quick point of pride, in the slideshow that Dennis put together, Blood was there in blue, there was one picture and lots of...
Can we have a mic for Lou?
They're trying. People with red shirts that were at the event, those were our El Plano interactors. We had about 10 or 12, if I recall, and they worked right up. They really had a great time, and we did do it in 2 hours. I was absolutely amazed at what was done. I only wish we had more land at that time to do. Well, no, they had land.
One tree and one
They needed more land.
All right, Nick, here we go.
Okay, we have a two-person joke today, all right?
Uh-oh, multiple parts.
So, pay attention, we're gonna move quickly, this is a professional team. Hello, is this Gordon's Pizza?
No, sir, it's Google Pizza.
I must have dialed the wrong number, sorry.
No, sir, Google bought Gordon's Pizza last month.
Oh, okay, I would like to order a pizza.
You want your usual, sir?
My usual? You know me?
According to our caller ID sheet, the last 12 times you called, you ordered an extra large pizza with 3 cheeses, sausage, pepperoni, mushrooms, and meatballs on a thick crust.
Okay, that's what I want.
May I suggest that this time you order pizza with ricotta, arugula, sun-dried tomatoes, and olives on a whole wheat gluten-free thin crust?
What? I need task vegetables.
But your cholesterol is not good, sir.
How the hell do you know?
Well, we cross-referenced your home phone number with your medical records, and we have the results of your blood tests for the last 7 years.
Okay, I do not want your rotten vegetable pizza. I already take my medication for my cholesterol.
Oh, excuse me, sir, but you have not taken your medication yet. According to our database, you only purchased a box of 30 cholesterol tablets once at Drug Sale Network 4 months ago.
I want more from another drugstore.
That doesn't show on your credit card statement, sir.
I paid cash.
But you didn't withdraw enough cash according to your bank statement.
I have other sources of cash.
That doesn't show on your last tax return unless you bought them using an undeclared income source, which is illegal.
What the heck?
I'm sorry, sir. We use such information only with the sole intention of helping you.
Enough already. I'm sick to death of Google, Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, and all the others. I'm going to an island without internet, cable TV, where there is no cell phone service and no one to watch or spy on me.
Oh, I understand, sir, but you need to renew your passport first. It expired 6 weeks ago.
Hey. Joe, you want to take us home? Yeah.
Trey!